All right, well, welcome everyone to MVP Office Hours. This is Jared Kingston, MVP with Perio. I host the Office Hours. I'm actually taking it from a coffee shop today, so that's why I'm talking softly and I'll be in and out of mute, but no worries. We have some, at least one MVP on the call today. If MVPs on the call could raise their hand in the meeting. Perfect. All right. So if you haven't been on Office Hours before, just a quick introduction. This is live answers, basically. So you can raise your hand, you can post in the chat, or just speak up. And so we just ask you mute your lines when you're not speaking so we can hear the answers and questions as they come. So I know we have one MVP on the other MVP on the line with us today. And Dale, if you want to introduce yourself.
It's all me? Holy crap, here we go. Okay. I'm Dale Ziegler. I am the solo admin and declarative developer for Kansas City Southern Railway here in Kansas City. I've been an admin for about 5 years and an MVP since March.
Awesome. And do we have any other MVPs just on the phone? I don't see in the web. Okay. Awesome. All right. So Dale and I are your guys today. So, but fret not. I think we have the gamut kind of covered.
We'll give it a shot.
Yeah. With that said, who wants to kick it off with the first question?
I'll ask a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
My question is around automation, and so we want to automate sort of the email responses without them sounding too canned email responses once a web to lead comes in. And so the initial email we can customize. We have no problem with that. But then 72 hours later, we want to kick off a second email that's more tailored to what we've experienced with that guest so far. And so I thought I could do it off of the last modified date on the lead, but that doesn't really work if they've, say, sent an email or, kind of, or used any kind of like notes or anything like that in the related lists. Is there another way I could do that?
Is created date not working? I know sometimes those system date fields aren't always compliant. So.
Sure. The created date works great as far as triggering the email, but we want to trigger a different email if we have communicated with that guest, or if we have not communicated with that guest, trigger a different email at 72 hours post-creation date.
If you've communicated or if anything has been updated on the record?
So hopefully those go hand in hand. I know they don't necessarily do. But say that the sales manager has gone in and updated. They didn't update in the lead detail information. What they updated was they sent an email from Salesforce, or they sent an attachment to them, or they added a note. I just don't know how to trigger an email based on those events.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, and I think I see what Dale's getting at. I mean, usually, probably trigger those, like, put them in time-based workflow, right? Whenever the lead gets created, but you still have to have some criteria to go off of, and when you're doing that off activities, it gets a little tricky because there isn't, a ton of things you can do off the activity. So, it may just have to be a, manual user checkbox or something that, says, hey, we have communicated with them, and that would be it, right? And that way you could at least
that was
say,
the path I was going to go down. I just was curious if there was a more, automated way to do it.
One, are you using any additional tools like Conga or anything like that? Any purchase tools?
We are using Conga, yes.
Have you purchased conductors?
That I don't believe we have.
Okay, because one of the things that I love in my org is you can send outbound messages, which includes when something happens, go do a whole bunch of stuff and it happens automatically. An outbound message is just like a field update or an email alert that you can attach to a workflow rule, which means you could use a time-based workflow rule that then also goes and compiles
Okay.
any child objects, anything related to the record that you're coming off of. So if you do have conductors, if that is a viable path, you could build a template, whether it be an email template or a Word template, Excel, whatever, that says what's my master record, which is the lead, and then go run a report that says give me all related activities attached to that one lead. And then all that gets sucked into one template and out it goes. Obviously that's generically speaking, but if you do have any of those add-ons at your disposal, that could definitely be a viable path.
Very interesting. Thank you. I will look into that.
And if you do, I'm Dale Ziegler. I'm on Twitter. I'm on the Success Community. Feel free to reach out to me, and I can kind of walk you through some of that. Or the BAs at Conga are phenomenal. They will give you all the time in the world. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. That is something I ran into something else where those conductors would have been useful, so might have to relook at that again.
Gotcha. And I don't work for Conga, but if you don't have conductors and do want to get conductors, they are very affordable. So.
Oh, good to know. Thank you.
But I don't work for Conga. I just love to sell them.
And Pseudo works for Conga. Awesome. Thanks, Dale. Mary, you posted a question in the chat. Is there any way to do roll-up summary with lookup relationship fields? I can take that one. The short answer is no, not in the technical sense of a roll-up summary field. The long answer of it is yes, and around it can be done, but it does require some code, or there is an app on the App Exchange called Rollup Helper. There's a free and a paid version. The free version, I believe, is more of a manual run of calculating those rollup summaries, whereas the paid actually does it on some sort of scheduled basis.
And adding on to that, I had Rollup Helper in my org for a while, and we had the free one, so it was like I think every 24 hours you could do a batch. If you're not dealing with too many records to where you wouldn't max out SOQL limits or bulkification or anything, you could also process Builder or Flow, but you'd have to have a small set of data to not max out those limits.
There you go. All right. And I know the other thing about that too is if you have someone who can support code in your org, I know there's a lot of sample code out there for doing those types of rollup fields, but again, I mean, you probably need somebody to help write some test coverage, things like that, and manage that. I've done it before. It's not ideal, but it does work. So. All right. Who else has a question?
This is Mary again. I have another question. I saw a demonstration where somebody had put together a dynamic checklist. So it was basically where you could go and check a box and then would automatically, write that in there, fill in, who approved it or check that checkbox and pulled in some other various information. Has anybody ever seen anything else like that, or would it be something hard to do? Or any ideas on how that was done?
So just to clarify, you're saying what exactly happens when a box is checked?
Then as soon as the box is checked, you don't have to save it or anything else. If you check the box, then right next to it would be displayed who the user was that checked that box, and then there were a couple other fields next to it too, where it then pulled in some various other pieces of information. My guess is a visual force page with JavaScript or something. I don't know.
I don't know that any of that is possible in the standard UI. It would be at minimum Visual Force, because when you're on just a standard page layout, in order for any information to not only commit but then do additional stuff, you have to save. So I'm going to guess there was a pretty heavily coded up solution to that. It sounds awesome. I can already think of some things in my org that I would love to have that for, but it sounds
exactly.
It sounds coded up though.
All right, so nobody's really seen anything or have any ideas on how that was
Yeah.
done?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the same thing. It would definitely be a inline Visual Force page with probably some JavaScript in there to do that. So yeah, that would be my guess. All right, Wendy, you have a question. This is a good question here on SSO. Only a handful of users are able to log in via SSO. You verified credentials, Google Chrome and IE. Are they, I guess, Wendy, are they getting any sort of like what, does it just not log in? Does it give them an error? Does it just tell them credentials are not valid?
It basically tells them that their credentials aren't valid. So we've got a separate sign-on where they enter in their credentials, and it just comes up with an error saying that their username or password is not correct. But I verified that they are correct. So I'm at a loss. I've reached out to support, and they've been unable to help me, and developer community hasn't been able to help me either. So I'm kind of at a loss to what might be causing it. And again, it's only just a handful of the users.
Is your SSO integration through like Active Directory or
Yep,
what's
Active Directory, yep.
Because my org's in the process of trying to get an Active Directory integration deployed. On your in-house side, do users potentially have multiple IDs associated with them? I know that's been biting us in trying to get everything one-to-one.
Yeah, no. As far as single sign-on goes, it's just one per person.
But has your info security department confirmed that every unique individual only has one unique ID? Is there potentially a one-to-many relationship on that side that's causing this conflict?
That I know of, no.
Okay.
It would be highly unlikely that would be the issue, but I could certainly ask.
The other thing you may look at, and I don't know if you've looked at this, is under setup under delegated authentication error history. If anything shows up there from single sign-on,
okay.
What I always think when like login things occur, like single sign-on or in general, is if the error doesn't show in Salesforce, I feel like most of the time then the error must live within that other system, or there's something going on there, right, with the single sign-on piece, because if it were Salesforce, then Salesforce should generate an error, right, to say that the ID doesn't match or is incorrect.
Right. And they don't even, sorry, my dogs are barking now. It doesn't even get that far. So when I go to check their user profile, it doesn't even show that they've made an attempt to log in, so it's not even getting that far.
Are all of these users employees within your company, or are there any contractors, any non-employees?
They're all employees.
Okay.
guess the catch of it is that they're able to get onto other sites with single sign-on. It's just Salesforce that they're not being successful.
How long ago was single sign-on implemented?
Oh my gosh, it's been 5 years? 4 or 5 years?
Has your company gone through any Active Directory upgrades that maybe not every user has been migrated to or from?
Again, not to my knowledge, but again, I could ask that question as well.
Okay. I mean, yeah, like Jared said, I think I'd agree that if it were a Salesforce error, Salesforce would pop the error. It sounds like it's coming from the other
from our
system.
Side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it could be, maybe you just need to refresh some of those SSO settings if it's been that long. Maybe you provide a new SSO file out of Salesforce to the SSO team, as well as just kind of, hey, take a fresh look at the settings within Salesforce. Are they right? And yeah, like I said, on the Active Directory side, they may not have something that they need because for some reason it's not hitting Salesforce like it should. It's weird that it only happens for a couple users, but that's hard to influence.
Are these users attempting to access Salesforce from within your network, or like is it at home on their personal computer where they're maybe not on a VPN or going through a web client or anything like that?
No, they're on their work laptops.
And so even if they're out of the office, they're still probably using a VPN or something that would still capture their creds? Okay.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's a mystery. But you gave me some good things, some good questions to ask, so I can take those back to my tech team and see if maybe they can come up with some solution then. So I thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the only other thing I could say is maybe, I don't know if you posted on the Stack Exchange as well. That may be another place to post and see if there's some potential answers out there.
Okay.
And then, obviously just with as much details you have, it's hard, obviously, when it just tells you that it failed and there's no error in Salesforce, but somebody may have run into that before. I was just looking on there right now.
Okay. I can definitely do that.
Some stuff. All right. Let's see. Looks like Rajiv, you have a question. Looking for a solution to transfer ownership of files when the file owner leaves the organization. Found a workaround. So I guess, Rajiv, if you kind of elaborate on this, what kind of records are you talking about? Like just accounts, contacts, or the custom records?
So the files are related to the donation records. So we are a nonprofit organization, and there are tasks created on the donation records. So what users do is any kind of research documents that they have or any kind of task that they have, they share it on Chatter. Anything that is created by a user, they are the owner. They stay as owner, no matter if they are active in active users or not. But I think the example which I'm talking about is the person is active. We want to make her inactive, but the files that she owns, we want to transfer ownership of those files to existing users of the organizations. So I tried looking for transfer ownership button. I couldn't find any button, but so I found a workaround, which is if I share those specific files with specific users, that way they will have owner level of permissions on the file. But what I was wondering is I was thinking to make a process so that whenever any person leaves, all the files that he owns can be transferred to a different user.
So let me just make sure I understand. Are you actually talking about Salesforce files, or are you talking about the donation records themselves?
Salesforce files.
Oh, okay. So that's okay. I thought you were talking about the donation. I will say there is if you're on the donation side, there is the mass transfer reassign opportunities, which is essentially donations labs app that will help with mass transferring those records. But for the files, files I feel like are still kind of new. Let's see if I can find anything on the Google machine, because I haven't. The only other thing you could potentially do. Well, it's not automated, but the data loader can get to that metadata.
So I posted this on communities as well, and someone suggested that I can run a report. But then I was wondering if I can get any help on creating a report on that, because if I want to create a report, I need to have the file and the file owner and the new user record ID, so that I can assign it to the new okay, maybe I'm just thinking out loud. So record ID of the existing owner should be replaced by a record ID of the new owner, and we need the record ID for the file if there is anything like that exists. File ID maybe, I'm not sure. So I was just playing around with the report, which didn't work, so that I can export it later and then use maybe demand tools to change the owner of the files.
Yeah, I'm just looking at my dev org right now, because I think you have to. I thought you had to create a custom report type.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But if I remember right, it wasn't exactly self-explanatory. So there is a file and content report. It's actually a standard report type. Because essentially files are Salesforce content, right? So
right.
It gives you the file ID in that, and it gives you the
Give me the owner ID or owner record ID. It doesn't give me that.
Yeah, so it's the created by, but then what you can do is back to report types.
And should it show me all files that exist in the org? Because right now, when I ran that report, it is showing only the files that are either owned by me or are shared with me. And I am the admin of the organization.
Yeah, it should show all files. Yeah, I'm not, doesn't look like you can create a custom report type on that. Yeah, it doesn't look like you can create those custom report types, at least from what I'm seeing. The only other thing I could think of doing is yeah, that's not what you need. So, yeah, so the only other thing I can think of doing, which gets a little bit more tedious, is using the data loader to do the work. And with the data loader, right, you can get to any of the metadata, so you should be able to pull. Let me just. I gotta update my Java on my data loader, but the just speaking from data loader memory here, yeah, if you pull up data loader, you should be able to get to the content object within there. Now you would have to go grab the user's ID from the user record to query on that specific user. But with the data loader, right, you can do that. It creates the SOQL query for you so that you can query that information and pull out the record ID of the file, and then you just would replace, obviously, the owner ID with your new owner's ID and do an update. And I think that should work. I've never tried it personally, but it should work just like any other metadata. But that's something to give a shot. I was trying to see if there was, anything around that, and yeah, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot around files. But let me this is interesting.
I'll give it a try with data loader, or maybe I'll see if I can do it with demand tool.
Okay, well, actually, I may have just found something for you, which I found on the Google machine. I'll post it here in the chat.
Okay.
It's like somebody Automation Champion. Who is that? Do you know who that is, Dale?
I think I do
No
have
idea.
it.
Well, have you tried this?
That was my backup. In case nothing works out, then this was my last resort.
Okay. Yeah, so, it's Rakesh Gupta.
Yes, he is one of
yeah.
the VPs. He's very active on communities as well.
Yeah, that's right. I thought this sounded familiar. Yeah, so this is Rakesh, which is great. So, yeah, this is actually pretty clever. I don't know. I mean, obviously, you could probably create. There's probably Apex that could be written. This is probably a simpler way than even I said with the data loader. But yeah, this is actually pretty handy. Yeah, and if you have demand tools, well then demand tools, I would think you'd be able to do it, but I haven't played with demand tools in a long time, so.
Okay. Okay, I'll give it a try with demand tools, and if it doesn't work, then this is the last option or the alternative I have.
Yeah, that's what I would. Hopefully, maybe someday they will give us that standard.
Right. Okay. Thank you for answering
Yeah,
my questions.
not a problem.
When in doubt, just Google Rakesh Gupta, and you will probably find your answer.
Yeah, that's actually a really clever use of visual workflow. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
Wouldn't have thought of that, but leave it to Rakesh. He will find it.
He's up to like volume 51 of his flow and automation blog. I'm amazed at how much he has come up with. It's all amazing and it's all solid.
Yeah, he's got books on things. It's impressive. All right, who else has a question? Nobody else has any questions or anything? All right. Well, that'll be a short wrap for today then. And again, if on any of those questions, feel free to definitely follow up on the MVP Office Hours group. If you're still having issues with those or have additional questions, definitely post out there. Appreciate everyone joining. Again, if you have any feedback or ways you think MVP Office Hours could be improved, definitely feel free to message me on the community or post on the Office Hours page. So, everyone have a great weekend, and we will talk to you on the next Office Hours.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.